Hello, today I am going to be presenting the culture and food habits of Lebanon. I'm going to provide information over the history, religion, education, economic factors, geographical factors, health beliefs, communication styles, and food habits for this country. Lebanon is a place of origin for some of the oldest settlements in the world, which include Tyre, Sidon, and Byblos. These three settlements were major trade centers at the time, and their major transport was actually silk. Lebanon became a republic in 1926 and then gained its independence in 1943 and became a country. I've attached a picture of the flag of Lebanon and also some geography where it's located, and Beirut is the capital of Lebanon. Some religious influences in Lebanon are Christianity and Muslim. These are the primary religions, although other religions exist in smaller groups. The Muslims have two groups. They're called the Shia Muslims and Sunni Muslims. I've attached a picture of what the pilgrimage to Mecca looks like, where they perform rituals, and it's a very important part of their religion. The education in Lebanon. So, primary education can be thought of as elementary school here in America. So, in primary education, students will study Arabic, civics, art, math, science, physical education, and sometimes religion. I say sometimes religion because there are two types of schools in Lebanon, which are free private schools and private schools. Private schools usually do teach religion, while free private schools don't. I'll get into more what these are in the next slide. Secondary and post secondary education can be thought of as middle school for Lebanon, and this is where students will split into either the academic stream or the technical vocational stream. In the academic stream, students will study higher level Arabics, civics, math, and science. And if they choose to go the technical vocational route, they will deal more with applied math and science topics. Higher education in Lebanon is not necessary. The picture I have attached is one of the exams that students have to complete during secondary and post secondary education. This is called the brevet exam, and it is necessary to earn it so that a student may earn their general secondary diploma. The economic factors affecting education in Lebanon. So, I have mentioned here private schools versus pre private schools, and this directly correlates with household tuition versus government funding. Private schools are usually funded by households with tuition, and the average tuition for private schooling is $4,000, which is pretty pricey for a country that is low to middle income. Government funding is used for free private schools, which are free for students. However, government funding is very limited, and for a low to middle income country, governments have a large list of priorities where they must dedicate their money to, and unfortunately, sometimes money gets dedicated to bigger issues such as security rather than education. Lebanon has a subtropical climate, which means that it is optimal for agriculture. The three most optimal places where topsoil has more moisture retaining characteristics are the coastal plains and the foothills of the mountain and mountains at high elevations. So, in the coastal plains, they're able to grow vegetables, bananas, and citrus. Mountain agriculture at the foothills includes olives, grapes, tobacco, figs, almonds, and then mountain agriculture at high elevations includes peaches, apricots, plums, cherries, apples, and pears. Traditional health beliefs. Around 30% of Lebanese adults use CAM products. The reason that CAM products are fairly popular in the country is because there's a slight distrust with biomedicine and medical professionals. And I'll touch on this more because I think this does have to do with communication styles and power distances. But the most common and popular CAM products used include folk herbs, folk foods, and vitamins and minerals. So, folk herbs such as green tea, chamomile, anise, and peppermint are used to treat inflammation, diarrhea, diabetes, and respiratory and digestive disorders. For folk foods, honey is believed to reduce risk of heart disease. Black seed is believed to be effective in treating inflammatory and autoimmune disorders, and molasses is believed to contribute to heart health and aid in digestion. The most popular vitamin is vitamin C. Communication in Lebanon. Lebanon has a very high context communication style. I have attached a picture of what this could look like. You have one point that is trying to be communicated to get to an end result, but there's all this jumble and clutter in the way, which can make it really hard to discern what someone is trying to say. A large power distance, which is depicted by this picture here, is also prevalent in Lebanon. This is when people view a superior as above them or larger than them. So this could be like a manager, a doctor, someone who holds a position of power over someone. In Lebanon, touching and eye contact are also important, which can also be depicted by this picture here. And people in Lebanon prefer to have no more than 2 feet of distance between conversationalists. So, what I was saying earlier with high context communication and a large power distance, when it comes to biomedicine and medical professionals, they can potentially find it difficult to be comfortable with them because they see a medical professional as above them. And also because of high context communication, it can make communication more vague and hard to decipher, which is why it makes sense that more people are comfortable using CAM products rather than going to go see a professional about certain things. Food habits in Lebanon. The meal pattern includes breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, which is very similar to an American meal pattern. One of the things in Lebanon that is different from the United States is leaving food on the plate. Typically, in the United States, people are accustomed to completely clearing their plate, whether the portion size was too big or not. But the reason that people in Lebanon consider it polite is it shows that the host provided more than enough food and that they are satisfied. The core foods in Lebanon include chickpeas, fava beans, lentils. Secondary foods are lamb, chicken, and beef. And special tradition foods, which can be prepared with some of those core foods, are baba ganache, kibbeh, shawarma, mujarda, baklava, and kanef. The food preparation methods, which are most common, are grilling, baking, and sauteing, which are all really healthy and great to be using. And flavor principles include garlic, paprika, za'atar, kishik, mint, parsley. The primary style of the diet in Lebanon is Mediterranean, and you can see that through beans and chickpeas being very common and popular. This Mediterranean food style is amazing for health and should be highly encouraged within the country. As I mentioned before, Lebanon is influenced by a Mediterranean diet. A Mediterranean diet heavily prioritizes the use of vegetables, fruits, beans / legumes, oils like olive oil, and whole grains. However, not enough people are eating according to this healthy diet, and you can see that through this chart I have attached, which shows that the current composition of sweets is very high compared to what the Mediterranean diet says it should be. The consumption of fruits and vegetables is also significantly decreased compared to what it should be, and this trend carries throughout the whole chart. Health issues in Lebanon include ischemic heart disease, which is the most prevalent nutrition-related disease. This disease is influenced by health-related risk factors like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cortisol, and obesity. Culturally based food habits. These are typically the last practice to change through acculturation because food is something that is fairly private and secluded, and whenever you're having your meal, there are times you're alone and there's no one to judge you for you practicing something that is closely connected to your culture. First generation immigrants are slower to adopt new cultures because they are more connected with their previous culture because they have that firsthand experience with it. However, second generation immigrants are usually quicker to adopt new cultures because they have less of a connection to their original culture because they just haven't been around it or exposed to it or made any deep emotional ties with it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was informative about the culture of Lebanon.